The conspiracy theory, or fooled by hoax labels, used against a person is bullying, and you have an individual duty to attack that person, not in a physically violent way, though. It seems that everywhere you turn, there's a story about this or that hoax or conspiracy. Curious thing about it is the type of rhetoric surrounding it. Frequently there are, even in supposedly reputable news outlets, personal ad hominem attacks on people because they hold one belief over another. The attacks are pretty vicious too, both in how they seek humiliation through ridicule, and how they demonstrate to anybody who reads or sees the material that they will be similarly isolated and also humiliated if they dared entertain an idea outside the orthodoxy. It's the social equivalent of a public flogging, and it's vulgar. It's as if to say, get back in line, that's thought crime. What's worse is that we are seeing mental illness and people suffering from mental illness being used as the butt of a joke, further stigmatized, and those who are afflicted by mental illness on the margins are pushed out even further into the dark. People who use this dismissive rhetorical technique are literally mocking people suffering from mental illness and bullying people into conformist thought. For instance, paranoia, which is common to a whole host of maladies, is somehow understood as shameful to have or express. This common caricature we see drawn is of a tin hat wearing person who is dysfunctional in every way. The use and labeling of a person as a conspiracy theorist, that intimates that person is like this mentally ill person, and everything about this mentally ill person says can be disregarded as foolish, misinformed, or nonsensical. Those who exploit the caricature thereafter disregard the actual issue at hand. Are you curious about why demolition equipment was found at the 9/11 site? Do you have a question about the past proven instances of CDC vaccine malfeasance? Are you not convinced that there are 70-some weather balloons flying together and that something is being hidden from the public? Well, those thoughts can only arise from mental illness. Ha! You have a mental illness. Because mental illness is so funny, isn't it? When we're done with that, we can swindle the elderly and hurl racial epithets at passers-by. Assholes. And if you're one of the people who uses the terms, I'm asking you to please stop. Even if it were true, we'd have no way of knowing whether a particular belief was held as a result of mental illness. But we don't even have to engage that question because none of this is relevant to the question of whether or not the idea proposed is true or not. Engaging in public discourse about finding truth values is not about judging another person. Children also have a higher chance of reporting false beliefs, but we don't discount everything they say. We discuss what we believe the false belief is, consider what the other person says, and we make a decision about our own beliefs based on that. To your brain, emotional and physical pain are the same. Do you know why it works? It works because social pain and physical pain register at the same part of the brain. As social creatures, our survival is dependent on the network of others who assist commonly. It makes sense from a survival perspective, because if you're the only one out in the jungle, your chances of surviving are lower than the network of people working together. This is why we have feelings like embarrassment or shame. Anyone exploiting this method of social pain is the real problem. Anyone who could use this is an unqualified bully, because they are in effect limiting intellectual curiosity with threats of pain. We're just not used to seeing social and emotional pain as real pain. So this is how a bully works his or her territory. A bully's power is an interesting thing. It comes initially from his or her ability to choose the grounds for conflict, and your fear working with your perception of isolation. So in order for him or her to be effective, the bully must win. The win must be decisive. The win must be public, such that individuals engaging in their own cost-benefit analysis think of the likelihood as great and the severity as great, as well as understanding that they too will be singled out. So in effect, the bully has overrepresented the likely consequences of engaging in non-orthodox thought. We've lost sight of the all for one and one for all ideal. So why do we have all these conspiracy theorists? Well, we don't actually. We have a population of people who have never actually had their questions looked at seriously because we're all too busy making fun of people who suffer from medical conditions. We have had countless more mass media articles covering vaccine conspiracists than actual charts on vaccines, cancer, autism, mercury, and others. The former types of articles contribute nothing to an interesting question deserving of inquiry. Some people might be wrong in the end, but wouldn't it make sense to let that happen and let them return to their life instead of repeatedly name-calling them? I bet a lot of them have sick kids, and labeling and dismissing persons being passionate about kids' lives is not decent. For those topics without a clear answer, I'd recommend probably what most of our parents recommended. Be nice to your brother and sister. No more name-calling. Okay, kids?